do my full comprehensive health video on Holly, and first I'm going to start off by assessing her orientation. So Holly, how are you today?
Doing good. How are you?
Can you state your full name for me?
Holly Davis.
Do you know where you are?
I'm at my house.
Do you know the date?
August 1st, 2016.
Great. So she is oriented to the person, time, or place, and I can see that she's relaxed, has good posture, willing and cooperative. And now I'm going to just look over her skin, and I can see that she's pinkish tan. She has no lesions, no redness, no edema, no bruising, no discharge, no deformities. Looking all good. And now I'm gonna, well, I can also see I don't know if I said it was smooth and moist, and now I'm going to look at her scalp, and I can see in general that her face is symmetric, and there's no swelling, lesions, discharge, and then I'm just gonna palpate, and I don't feel any bumps or masses, and her hair is smooth, fine, and evenly distributed. So it looks good. Now I'm gonna just check her temporal mandible, and I just ask her to open and close, and she did that smoothly, and there was no clicking. Now I'm just gonna ask her to clench her teeth to test cranial nerve 5, and I'm also going to test cranial nerve 5 by doing light touch sensation, and I'm just going to take my imaginary cotton swab and ask Holly to close her eyes and tell me when she feels it. Now. Perfect. So she passed. So now she can open her eyes, and we're going to do cranial nerve 7. So if you could wrinkle your forehead for me. Raise your eyebrows. If you can squeeze your eyes shut. If you can smile for me. If you can puff up your cheeks. I'm going to resist me pushing on them. Perfect. If you can stick out your tongue. Perfect. So her cranial nerve 7 looks all good. Now I am going to look look at her nose, and I see that it's symmetric, and there's no swelling or lesions on it. And I'm going to pretend to look inside of it, and I can see her terminates, and I see that they're red, and there's no obstruction in her nose, and she doesn't have a deviated septum. So that's all good. Now I'm going to look at her eyes, and I can see just from I'm gonna check for patency, so she can just suck in for the perfect. And so she's got full patency, and her openings are equal on both sides. So now I'm going to do her ears, and I'm just going to look at them first, and I see that they're symmetric on both sides, no swelling, no redness, no lesions. So I'm going to look at, or just palpate, tell me if there's any tenderness. No tenderness, perfect, and there's no tenderness in her auricle or tragus. Now I'm going to do the whisper test. So, Holly, if you could just repeat these.
8, 9.
A. Perfect. Now I'm going to test the other side.
4. A. 2.
Perfect. So that tests cranial nerve 8, and she passed that. And now I'm going to look inside her eye. Or her ear. I'm going to look inside her ear with my pretend little thing. And I see that her tympanic membrane is intact and goes to the center, and that it's pearly gray, and there's a cone of light reflex. And it's 7 on this side, and I'm going to go to the other side. And I see the same thing with cone of light reflex as a 5. And now I'm going to look at Holly's eyes, and I can see that her eyebrows are symmetric, her eyes are symmetric, and I'm going to ask her to close her eyes, and I can see that her lids have no lesions on them. I can see her eyelashes are evenly distributed and curved up, and that her eyes approximate. And if you can open, I'm going to look at your eye now, and I can see that her conjunctiva is clear and not cloudy, and I can see her sclera is white with a few blood vessels. I can see that her iris is blue and round and has even distinct margins, and her pupils are round with distinct margins in black. And I'm going to just check her pupils now, and I'm going to shine my pretend light, and both of them contract at the same time on both sides. And I'm going to now check for accommodation, so if you could stare off and then look at my finger. Perfect. Your eyes accommodate. I'm going to give you the Rosenbaum test for near vision. You can just pretend.
4, 8, 3, 7, 2.
Perfect. She has near vision of 20/20. Now we're going to test ocular motors. So if you could just follow my eyes, or my... So we're going to do and she parallel tracks with no additional movement. Now I'm going to look into her eye. I'm going to look first, the background is like a dark red, and her optic disc is a creamy yellow with distinct margin. She has paired vessels and veins in each quadrant. Then her macula is like a yellow-orange round with distinct margins. So her eyes look great. And now we're going to move on to the neck and mouth. So I'm just going to inspect her mouth first, and I see that her lips are moist and don't have any lesions or anything on them. If she can open her mouth, I can see that her mucosa is pink and moist, and that her gums are pink and moist, and that she's got all her teeth and they're intact and not chipped, and her gums are well defined around her teeth. I can see that her hard palate's rough and her soft palate is soft and has no lesions. I'm now going to ask Holly to say as I look in, and her soft palate and hard palate rise midline, and I can see that her uvula is midline. And when she says that's testing cranial nerve 10. And with her, I'm going to do a pretend gag reflex with my tongue depressors, and and that is cranial nerve 9 and 10. And then I'm going to ask Holly to stick out her tongue, and she sticks out her tongue straight with no tremors, and that is cranial nerve 12. So I'm going to inspect her neck down. I don't see any deformities, lumps, lesions. Her skin looks good, smooth, moist. I can see that her trachea is midline. Now I'm just going to palpate. Oh yeah, it's midline. And then I would give Holly a pretend glass of water and ask her to swallow and I would be able to feel her thyroid move up. Perfect. Now I'm going to do lymph nodes. I'm just going to palpate them for enlargement. And if Holly, if you could just tell me if you feel any tenderness.
Okay.
So I'm going to start pre-auricular, post-auricular, occipital, tonsillar, submandibular, submental, anterior, and post-cervical, and supracervical, and then I'm just going to go ahead and do her axillary right now. Did you feel any tenderness?
Nope.
Alright, I didn't feel any largeness or anything of that. Now I'm just going to do her chest, and I'm just going to inspect first, and normally I would have her remove her shirt, but for this purposes, we're just going to keep it on, and I would be standing into sitting on the table. But I can see that her respiratory effort is relaxed, and she's not using any accessory muscles. Her AP versus transverse. She has a bigger transverse versus AP, which is good. I'm gonna test her shoulder shrug now for cranial nerve 11. So, oh, and I'm going to test your neck range of motion as well. So Holly, if you could go this way, perfect, and then against my resistance.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, and then if you could go this way, and then against my resistance, perfect. And if you could go up and back, and, okay, and then again, perfect. So she had full range of motion and 5 out of 5 strength on all of those. So after I did that and I've looked at everything, I don't see any pulsations anywhere, anything like that. I don't see any heaving. So now I'm going to start palpating for her precordium, and I don't feel any heaves or thrills. Perfect. And then I'm just going to check her apical pulse, so she could lay back for me. And I'm going to check it on her left side in her fourth intercostal space, 4th or 5th. You did. And I feel a gentle tap. And then I'm going to check it with the carotid. And it happens at the same time. Perfect. You can sit up. Now I'm going to auscultate. I'm going to do lung sounds first. And I'm going to do all lung sound areas. So I'm going to start way up here, and I'm just listening for adventition sounds and vestibular, bronchial, and bronchiovestibular. Perfect. Now I didn't hear any adventition sounds. Her breathing wasn't diminished at all. It was perfect. And now I'm going to check for heart sounds. So I'm going to use both sides to check. And on the diaphragm, I'm just listening for S1 and S2 and any abnormal sounds. And I'm going to start at the aortic. Go over to pulmonary, then Erb's point, then tricuspid, and then mitral. Almost did it again. And then I would go over and listen for bruits. I don't hear any bruits. I'm going to go ahead and feel her other side of her carotid that I didn't do, and then listen for bruits too. Don't hear anything, so I'm going to do the back now. Oh. And I'm going to start with the lungs first. I don't hear any adventitious sounds. I don't hear any diminished breath sounds. Perfect. And now I'm going to test her for her, see if her expansion. So Holly, if you could take a deep breath in and out. And my thumbs rose apart and came back together equally. And now I'm going to check for CVA tenderness. So Holly, if you can tell me if this is tender.
Okay.
No?
No.
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 Perfect. Now I'm just going to go back to the front. And I am going to do the abdomen now. So Polly could lay down. Perfect. Then I would do this with her shirt off too, but I'm going to assess the skin first, and I don't see any pulsations, her skin looks smooth, moist. So then I'm going to start with bowel sounds in all 4 quadrants, and I'm going to listen to normioactive bowel sounds. And I hear normal active bowel sounds. in all 4 quadrants. Perfect. And now I'm going to listen at her aortic, her renal, her iliac, and her femoral on both sides of my stethoscope to listen for bruits or any abnormal pulsations. I don't hear any bruits. Perfect. Now I'm going to palpate all 4 areas. I'm going to start with light to try to feel for any enlargement. I don't feel anything. And now I'm going to do deep, and I'm going to feel for jugular, and I can feel the end of the liver, and I don't feel the kidneys or the spleen. And did you feel any tenderness in that? Perfect. Now I'm going to check for tympany in all areas with percussion. I hear tympany. Then I'm going to do her liver border, and just going to go from the top until I hear dullness, and then go from the bottom until I hear dullness. Perfect. And that's about 7 centimeters. And that's all for the abdomen. But I'm going to have Holly sit up now. And I'm going to look at her jugular distension. I don't see any jugular distension as she sits up. And I'm going to look at her nails now. And I don't see any clubbing. And her capillary refill is less than 3 seconds. Now I'm going to listen. Well, I'm going to listen to all her pulses. And I already did. Oh no, I already did that. Just kidding. I'm going to have test Holly's range of motion, and I'm going to do her capillary, test her capillaries and all that now. So I'm going to get her brachial pulse, and that's 2+. Her radial brachial, which is 2+. And then this side, her brachial again, 2+. Radial brachial, 2+. And now we're going to do range of motion and strength in her arms and all. So we're going to start with her arms, and we're just going to have her bring them over her head and down. Perfect. If you could circle them forward and back. And if you could bring them up to your shoulders. Perfect. And now we're going to do resistance. So if you could just resist. And then back. Perfect.
I'm sorry.
She's got 5 out of 5 strength, and she's got full range of motion in her shoulders. So we're gonna do her elbows now. So if you could flex and straighten, perfect, and do it against.
Okay, I got it this time.
All right, she had full range of motion in her elbows. So we're gonna do her wrist now. So if you could flex your wrist up and down, and if you could rotate them up and down. Perfect. Now we're going to do it again. So wrist up, wrist down. All right, she had full motion, 5 out of 5. Now we're going to do her fingers. Can she point just her fingers down and her fingers up? Can she abduct and adduct? Perfect. If she can make a fist, then she can go like this for each finger. Perfect. So she had full range of motion in her fingers. Now we're going to have Holly lay down, and we're going to do
reflexes.
Just kidding. So that we're gonna do her reflexes. So we're gonna do these. No, you're good. So that was 2 out of 2. We're gonna do her bicep now. 2 out of 2. We're going to do the exercise. It's okay. You got it. Perfect. All right. All those are 2 out of 2. Now she can lay down. And we're going to do our hip range of motion first.
Okay.
So if you could straighten your leg and then bring it up straight. Do the same thing with the other one. Perfect. If you could do it against my resistance. Yeah. Perfect. And then again. Perfect. If you could bring your knees straight into your chest. And then the other one. And then we're going to have you bend one leg. And if you could rotate your ankle in and out. Perfect. And the other one. Perfect. So she had 5 out of 5 strength and full range of motion, and I'm gonna have her abduct and adduct her feet so she could and then cross your body.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. And then the other way too, and then against my resistance. Perfect. Perfect. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and check her pulses now, and I can feel her femoral is 2+. Pop it here. Her dorsal pedis is 2+. And then her meatus is 2+. Alright. If she can now sit up. Okay. And I'm gonna test her reflexes. So I'm gonna do popliteer. Perfect. 2+. And now I'm going to do her Achilles. 2+. Okay. Now we're going to do her, we're going to do her knees. So she could straight.
Sorry.
And then straighten and flex. Sorry, I didn't actually say anything. I thought I said it. Perfect. So she had full range of motion, 5 out of 5 strength. Now we're going to do her feet so she could point and flex, and then against my resistance. So point and flex. Alright, so she had full range of motion, her ankles, 5 out of 5 strength, and then we're going to do her toes now. So if you could point them inwards towards each other, point them outwards, point them down, point them up. If you could adduct your toes, spread them apart. Perfect. Now I'm going to check your capillary refill. Perfect. And while doing this, I would inspect her skin and see that her legs were smooth, no edema, no swelling, nothing along those lines. So now we're going to do her cerebral function, and I'm going to ask Holly, can you close your eyes for me? And if you could put your arms straight out, and then touch your nose with one, and then switch. Perfect. Now if you could repeat these motions for me. Perfect. Then go faster. Awesome. So those were intact. Now I'm going to ask Holly to stand for me. And we're going to have her close her eyes and see if she sways. And she doesn't, and this is Romberg's test. And so she was good with that. Now I'm going to have her walk for me, and I can see that her walk is coordinated, and she's well balanced. So I'm going to have her do toe to heel walk for me. And I can see that is coordinated and balanced as well. Perfect. And now I'm going to have Holly bend over and touch her toes. And I'm going to feel her spine. And I can feel that it's straight. And I can see that her her scapula are even. And there's no deformities there. And then she can sit up. And if she can lean side to side for me. Perfect. And lean back. She has full range of motion there, and if she can sit down, I would ask her if she has any questions for me, and if she has any additional concerns, and that would be it. Yay! You're going to have to log in and turn off.
Oh, yes I am, aren't I? Oh, we forgot about that on the last video. And we were talking. Oops.